Read the disclaimer, 13 and up.
Hello everyone, and for this video we're doing the Quad Strike episode 8 review. I'm doing the X like Excalius. See, look at that, 8. Yeah, very excited to finally do the review. I was definitely waiting on this episode for a long time, but no, we're here. So what I wanted to do was just immediately get right into it. So the opening sequence starts off seeing the Avatar. Now this is kind of a bank sequence that they do reuse later on. I think it's fine how they kind of set it up here. Like, you're not going to realize that they reuse this a little bit later on. And it's actually kind of a good little prelude to when the episode actually begins. When you see, oh, he's so angry, he's so powerful. And it was so exciting actually to see Xander again. I was very, very excited. So yeah, this was a really sick shot of the Avatar when it does the move. It does get reused, but it's okay. And then after, obviously, it's going through the Blader Challenge, which, by the way, it is 300 bays. I think we have to do the Hasbro version first. And you know what's funny, too, is that I can't even use it with the sword. I have to use it with the Extend Plus bottom. But I thought that was a little cool introduction. So they kind of set up this whole thing at the start where they're going to go visit him at his dojo. And he's in the middle of doing all these battles. Now I found really, really funny, actually, is when he had the launcher. Because if you actually see him when he's holding the launcher is a lot bigger in scale than it should be. Like, the ripcord is just massive, man. Which I guess it makes sense. It wouldn't look as cool if he was like holding on like the tiny Hasbro ripcord. It's not really a dig or anything. I just thought that was kind of funny how they handled it. A little bit of... no, the shadows look fine there. I thought before they did it. I'm looking closer, it looked fine for the blending. Although it kind of looks a little bit weird on the lighting there. But no, it was really, really cool. I got reminded of Beyblade Burst God, or I should say Evolution, when he was doing it. I'm reminded it's a hollowed Hasbro Bay. And then after I got less excited. There's some very, this episode's kind of like a mixed bag. There's some very good art of Xander in some shots, and sometimes it looks really weird off model, but I think overall it was consistent enough, and it was pretty enjoyable. And he's going through it, and he goes through that impact on the sword there. Very awesome to see. So then after he talks with Vault, later on they have like this whole flashback thing where they recap, and it's redubbed with the new actors on the previous scenes, because obviously, you know, different dubbing studio, right? But, yeah, I want to get back to that because that happened a little bit later on. Then after, it's Belle and Quadra that are teaming up against Xander. So it's really nice, and I really like this about Quadra, I should say Pri, is that she notices and she's paying attention to how Excalibur's movements are, and that kind of pays off a little bit later on in the episode. His launch kind of reminds me, like Season 1, it's very nice. I think it ends off fine. It looks cool. He goes for the explosive hit, and listen, she's trying to use Bellfire to her advantage against the Excalius. Listen, you got like your Zyphoid Saber, which honestly, it looks really cool. Now what I found really funny was, since, you know, obviously it's not the Takara Tomy release, but the Takara Tomy release, how it would work in battle, the sword would basically pop out after it lost a few clicks. You definitely could kind of feel that when you're watching it. Like, there's definitely VFX and kind of the dialogue where they're like, oh, it did it in one hit. Like, the mode is called, like, Ichige or whatever, where it's like one hit KO. And I just thought, oh, well, hey, you know, that's what it's kind of doing there. But, you know, oh, by the way, like, Zyphoid Saber or whatever, instead of, like, Ultimate Impact. But I thought it was pretty entertaining on the episode. And moving on from there, look at that. Look at the burst. Hey, that's the power of the mighty Excalius. You'll love to see it. Listen, honestly, Excalibur is one of my favorite ones, so to see it how it was executed, listen, we won't forget what they took from us. We won't forget, but all joking aside, I thought it was fun. The only thing I don't like, which is not really nitpicking, is that they tease like Xander versus Volt. I actually want to see that, but will they actually get around to doing it? I hope they can. So what's actually interesting is actually this part here, because if you remember in the previous episode, Ken actually gives her a +U before he's leaving. And, you know, he mentions, you know, the whole thing that Pri is still Pri no matter what. And I think it's like her coming to terms with both the Quadra and the Pri identity, which I do like. That's kind of her focus on trying to improve as a blader. And Xander's practicing at night. You know, he's got to listen, he's got to practice the launching So they do actually set up a battle between the two of them. And I think this was the weird shot with him. I don't think that looks right. I think there are some shots where the characters kind of feel a little bit weird. This is kind of present with Volt and DB, or I should say Quad Drive, Dante, and even here, where sometimes the characters kind of feel like de-aged or something. Like, I don't know if off-model is the right term. It just doesn't feel right. Like, if you compare their build to like the previous season, sometimes it looks a little bit off. But, you know, Pax is pretty happy because now she can show off to her true potential, which I'm still suspicious of what we know what's with Pax, you know, what's that whole deal with. But she actually switches to Lightning Pandora. I think this was kind of like a test to see her strategy against Zyphoid, which, looking at it, listen, I gotta bring back the screenshot. I'm sorry, listen, don't forget what they took from us. It looks fine. I'm still not used to the whole Hasbro Bay thing. She does the whole thing, the 1, 2, and listen, yo, Zyphoid is messing up Lightning Pandora. It's actually interesting. So he does use actually the Extend Plus base. I guess next episode he is going to just have with the sword attachment. But when he actually goes for that impact, I think in particular here, it's like, oh, that's like that one hit. But I don't think that sword was kind of highlighted there. But yo, he obliterates Lightning Pandora. Then he switches to Tidal Pandora, and they're going at it. And what I really like is the actual strategy involved that they talk about in this episode. Like, you actually see her thinking it out on the movements of Excalius. If I say Excalibur, just used to the name. I thought that's really cool. Like, I having strategy in these battles, I feel like it's been lost for such a long time. Usually, it's just like, do the move, do the move, do the move. So to see this was like a breath of fresh air. I very much enjoyed the episode in that regard. I feel like the choreography on the battles has definitely been on point. There's not been a single battle so far that I've thought was too lackluster. Even I enjoyed the Kerbeus battles. But it basically avoids Excalius, and then after it goes for it, launches it in the air. Right, launches it in the air. Then you get the cool power-up sequence. The final shots here, you know, not as impactful as the other Excalius avatars from the previous ones. I kind of like that sequence a little bit more. But then after, you know, it goes to the Xander goal, and nice impact that they actually do that I thought was really awesome. But then after, you see basically the same sequence we saw at the start. So if you are wondering, yes, it is the same sequence. It's just the difference is in the shadowing, if you're wondering. And listen, it goes for that hit. Zyphoid goes for the hit, man. One thing I want to say is kind of funny is that I like how the sword, like, this is like McDonald's colors. Like the yellow glow and everything. Like, I definitely am thinking in my head, if this was the Takara Tomy release, that they definitely would have kind of had it where you could kind of notice, like, the sword in the effects. So they have to do the best they can to make it look good, right? You know, can't I blame them? Listen, they're working with Hasbro Bays, man. It goes for the hit. Now, they do the whole thing where it wasn't a double burst, because she bursted first. And that is true, she did burst first, but I always thought it's kind of, Oh, I just noticed the parts in there, yeah. Wow. But good news for Pri. She's growing her power, and I believe it's a few episodes later on, but it kind of makes sense that it's this whole thing with Excalius, because she's gone up against Dante, she's gone up against Xander now, so to be able to kind of eventually lead to Twister kind of makes sense logically with how she's progressing. And overall, good episode. I like this quite a bit. I thought Xander sounded fun in the episode. Nothing really else. The battles were pretty good. Some kind of weird shots. I think this was the shot in particular. No, that was not the shot. There's one. Oh, here it is. I found it. Yeah, this looks not good. This is the art. When I said not good, this is the shot I meant. That's why I said it looked very awkward. That was the only shot I thought looked like kind of terrible, because it has like the teeth out and it looks very goofy. That was the only one I thought was a little bit awkward. I don't really think that was too much of an in-between either. That was just a really awkward job. But Quad Strike's doing pretty good so far. I'm enjoying it a lot. And as we end off, I have to mention this, but I know the poll says Zyphoid Excalibur, so I'm going to ask the comments now. This is your chance to sway how I do it. But for 300 bays, I think we have to do the Hasbro first, and maybe we do a stream, or maybe we just do a premiere on like the following Friday, maybe with the TT version of that, because you have to respect it is Hasbro. They use Hasbro Bays in the show, but I enjoyed it. And also next week looks very, very good. The VFX looks sick. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and bye.